minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank my friend and colleague, Lisa Clay, for yielding. Chairman Shimkus, Ranking Member Tonko, Full Committee Ranking Member Mr. Pallone, and my other colleagues, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today on this very important subject of oversight on CERCLA and the EPA's role in cleaning up contaminated sites across the country. I'd like to speak today about my experience with the Westlake landfill in St. Louis and how the EPA has failed for more than 30 years in its cleanup of nuclear waste dating back to the Manhattan Project and World War II. For 3 full decades, the CERCLA process, and particularly the EPA, have failed the people of St. Louis in the most heartless manner possible. Before I share the facts, I want to paint a bleak picture of what my constituents are facing. Moms and dads are watching their children suffer from the fight uncommon health afflictions. Local school districts are sending kids home with notices of emergency procedures related to the hazardous landfill. The county health department started testing nearby residents for respiratory problems and developed an emergency plan of its own. I cannot possibly imagine what it would be like to open my child's book bag when they got home from school and learned that they are subject to extreme health risks, or learn about the procedures they have been practicing in their classrooms in the event that the radioactive waste reaches fire. This is happening, and it's happening to the innocent children every day in St. Louis. These are the experiences caused by years of dereliction and inaction by the EPA. In 1990, the EPA listed Westlake on the national priorities list under CERCLA. It wasn't until 18 years later, in 2008, that the EPA was finally able to come up with a decision on what to do with the waste at the site. After intense public backlash and sharp criticism from the EPA's own National Remedy Review Board, the agency reopened the 2008 decision and has undertaken additional testing and study. In June of this year, just last month, another document prepared by the National Remedy Review Board in 2013 was released by the EPA stating—
Well, the generally, I'm sorry to do that, but we've got young kids coming in, which we want to incentivize. Come on in, there's seats, if people can move. This is about their future. I love it when we have young adults come in. So, and they were kicking some out, and I didn't want to do that. So,
gather around the walls.
That's right.
I do want to reclaim my time, however, Mr. Chairman, to make sure that I—
Well, that was another reason why I was interrupting, but you caught me. So, and we're going to be very gracious on time. So, the gentlelady, you can resume. Thank you for letting me interrupt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome young people. It's about your future and the future of all of our families and our children, our communities. After intense public backlash and sharp criticism from the EPA's National Remedy Review Board, the agency reopened, as I stated, the 2008 decision and has undertaken additional testing and study. In June of this year, another document prepared by the National Remedy Review Board in 2013 was released by the EPA, stating that removing radioactive waste at the landfill was feasible and could reduce long-term risks, contradicting the EPA's earlier decision to leave the waste in place and capping. But simply, Mr. Chairman, the fact that this 2013 document has not been available before last month shows the lack of transparency and accountability that the EPA has demonstrated throughout this entire process. As the Missouri Attorney General stated, and I quote, "The EPA has time and again made promises that failed to deliver results." Meanwhile, families suffer as the clock ticks and ticks and ticks away. During this additional testing, discovery of new radioactive material is consistently found outside of the known contaminant area, bringing considerable doubt in EPA's management of the site while pushing back the timeline for action. At the same time, a subsurface fire is burning in an adjacent site and moving toward the radioactive waste, prompting significant and absolutely justifiable concern in the community that the EPA has turned a blind eye and failed in its missions to protect our residents. And despite the seriousness of the situation, the EPA has still not made a decision about what to do with the waste, pushing back their self-imposed deadline for releasing a decision time after time and year after year. Failure after failure while entire communities wait. Forget cleanup and remediation. The EPA can't even make a decision about what to do with the federal government's nuclear waste. They have been unable to deliver on deadlines to ensure basic safety in preventing the underground fire from reaching the radioactive waste. In a letter from the International Association of Firefighters, they say, and I quote, "Firefighters in the area are especially concerned about the dangers posed by the underground smoldering fire at the nearby Bridgeton landfill. The proximity of the two landfills creates the potential for firefighters and other emergency personnel to be exposed to radioactive materials during response operations." Community leaders, Mr. Chairman, such as Dawn Chapman and Karen Nickel, who have joined me and are seated right behind me, and Ed Smith, who couldn't be with us today, have been tirelessly raising the alarm for years about the dangers posed by this site. I have their testimony, Mr. Chairman, that I would like to submit for the record.
We will look at the testimony. We won't commit for submission to the record, but we'll have to talk with the ranking member. And
Let me take a quote from Karen Nickel. They both are up here at their own expense, their own dime, their own nickel, because they care so deeply about their communities and their families. Karen Nickel says, "Where we thought we would find an ally in EPA, instead we found a foe and failure." Dawn Chapman, "We deserve to be able to put our children on the school bus without fear that a catastrophic event will happen at this landfill, and our children will have to be sent to a different location to keep them safe." Mr. Chairman, I can tell you that this is the first issue I was briefed on after being elected to Congress nearly 4 years ago, and it is past time for action. I appreciate their support and am asking this committee for help. On behalf of all my constituents and these leaders, these women and men and activists who have recognized that something must be done to clean up this nuclear waste and prevent health and safety concerns. That's why I, along with my colleague Congressman Lacey Clay and Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer, introduced legislation to transfer control of the landfill from the EPA to the Army Corps of Engineers Formerly Utilized Sites Remedial Action Program, FUSRAP. It is H.R. 4100. Companion legislation in the Senate has already been passed by unanimous consent. The Corps has successfully and professionally managed several other similar sites in the St. Louis area and across the country. This move is supported by St. Louis community, including SSM Healthcare, which describes itself as, and I quote again, "the healthcare provider serving the community surrounding the Westlake landfill." Mr. Chairman, members of this committee, the EPA has had more than 25 years to understand and resolve the situation at this landfill, and they have delivered zero results. The agency has undoubtedly lost the trust of the entire community and has lost my trust as well. It is time for someone new to step in. EPA has failed and CERCLA has failed, and as my constituents and I continue our fight, the clock continues to run. I'd also like to request, Mr. Chairman, to insert into the record local letters of support for HR 4100, as well as city and council resolutions supporting the transfer of Westlake from EPA to the Army Corps, and these documents that I have referenced today. All I would like to submit for the record, sir.
Again, we'll take that into consideration with the minority.
Thank you very much. Finally, most importantly, I'd like to enter into the record the full testimony of the constituents who were not able to testify on their own today at this hearing. I thank you very much for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Again, the same statement applies. Chair now recognizes the